They do things innocently, excellently, but it's written by Herbert Sequenza, who was one of the, you know what Culture Clash, who they were?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Herbert Sequenza, who we've become friends with, he wrote it. He's actually going to come talk about it at one point in March when we do it. But it's a play about manifest destiny in old California in 1848 with Californios.
Okay.
That period of the 1845. And it's a satire. It's based on a Moliere play called The Imaginary Invalid, which is about a hypochondriac. It's like a restoration comedy, but it's kind of that motif, but it's a lot of political stuff in it about the Orange Man and, you know, and it goes through time and space, this play, but it's about, the commentary is about Yankees feeling they can control everything and I mean, it's a good theme. It's really appropriate to today's world. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were showing me where the photos are. They're in jamesdonlon.com, more timeline photos.
Yep, right there.
And comment on a couple of them. Like, what's that?
Well, this is the earliest one. This is me, probably 10 or 11, walking along the railroad tracks in Saticoy, California, which used to be the main line of the Southern Pacific from San Francisco to LA before 1905. So, but at this time it was a spur for lemons and, you know, for packing houses. But my grandmother lived in a big old Victorian on the property to the left. So we would go down to the railroad track and my cousins and I just wander around.
I know the railroads were a big deal to you growing up.
Yeah, right. As we're sitting here, you can see the Southern Pacific line through the strawberry fields in front, which is literally like a model train layout looking out. So from the very beginning, because I moved here when I was 3.5, so I can even remember the steam from the locomotives above the walnut trees over here, because they didn't switch to diesel until 1956, 57, and I would have been 4 or 5 when there was still steam engines. So I was always enamored by trains. My father used to tell me that I was always looking at trains, planes, and boats. Something about transportation. And one thought I remember is you can see the trains disappearing to the north across they call this the Oxnard Plain, and it was very romantic for me. Like, where's that train going? Like, what's over the horizon? Where is that? You know, so as an artist, that's a very provocative, stimulating thought. Like, what's over there?
Nice.
And let's explore that, you know.
I'm going to adjust this here. And I'm going to just take a quick look at the shot here. Okay. Okay, so you were showing me that shot, and what else
Yeah.
out there?
This is these photographs are from my career timeline, or my, let's say, life. This is me on a stage at college at Humboldt State University in 1968, probably. As you can see, there's a ball here. A ball.
Oh, uh-huh.
So balls are very important to me, not only because I was a juggler at one point, but I was a passionate basketball player. And as a kid growing up at this time, sports were the popular theater of this area. It's a rural farm area. And in those days, we had basketball, football, and baseball were the main important activities, which were like theater, social force, which is true in a lot of areas of the United States. So I became, because you can do it by yourself, this is before soccer even, the immigrants would play their soccer, and we were just helpless at that. But basketball was a way to entertain yourself, and there's a ball, just you, a ball, and a hoop, which is our circular thing. So we're actually sitting on my old basketball court. This room is on the foundation where my father had built a basketball hoop, and I would play for hours and hours by myself shooting. became a pretty good shooter. So anyway, I took that further into basketball in college and so forth. And through my whole life, I played basketball. I just stopped recently. But
What else?
so this is my partner Robert Francisconi and I in a publicity shot. This is from probably 1971, and he is very important to me as a colleague, and as I always put him on my resume as a mentor, even though we were colleagues and teammates as a mime duo. You know, I learned a lot from him, and he learned a lot from me. So this was the look in the early 70s. It's a little rock and roll. You can see long hair with curly hair, so it's a little bit like that era of...
This is you?
This is me. And this was the makeup that I used for a few years right after I started becoming a professional mime. But this didn't last long. From probably 1974 until now, I never wore a white face again. So for about a period of 4 years, I wore a white face.
Can you go to the top again and just say, tell me, these are photos you can find on my website, jamesdonlon.com.
Sure. These are photos that you can find on my website, jamesdonlon.com.
That's all I needed.
Yeah. So in the 70s was a kind of a golden age for mime because it was very well received and there was a lot of touring mimes. And it was considered a theater art, an art form that was very sophisticated. And mimes were performing on stages all across the country. That does not happen now. In fact, mime is a joke word for a lot of people. There's a lot of butts of jokes. So in one sense, mime might be dead, but everything is in cycles. And who knows when it will return. Physical theater tends to rise up in moments of social unrest, interestingly enough. You know, people want to express themselves, they're frustrated, and it's interesting in our current times how there's a movement about in physical theater that it's becoming more popular with younger generations. Very interesting.
I wonder if it will become popular with the current social situation, or whether they'll...
It's hard to say, you know, that, I've produced the LA Mime Festival 2 years in a row, and we had great audiences, you know. This is the chrysalis of the clown, the classic theater clown. So here I'm probably 25, 26 years old, and so I would mix mime, mask, and physical comedy in a classic sense. There's a red nose there and a red apple in my performances. This photo was taken at the North Carolina School of the Arts, which is the first state-supported arts conservatory in the United States. It's a Juilliard kind of school, but it's supported by the state of North Carolina with its own campus. It's not part of the University of North Carolina.
By the way, if you see that my head comes in the shot at all, like this, let me know.
Yeah, you're pretty, yeah. This is a classic poster that was designed that was used in Europe and Latin America and across the United States. This shot is a very important publicity shot that was actually appeared on the cover of the New York Times art section in 1982, let's say. And this is when I was performing in New York, and I had a rave review from the New York Times as well, which helped your career.
I think I've seen that. Do you recall what the blurb was about you?
An extraordinary blend of skill and lunacy. That's the line that I used over and over again as a publicity blurb. This is about the same period. This is in San Francisco. I had a mime school in San Francisco called Menagerie Mime Theater, and that's in the studio. So I use circus techniques and movement and so forth So these shots, so the curly hair was very popular with audiences. In fact, they say that my hair would move in slow motion when I did a slow motion move. There was one scene at Bob Francisco High where I was shot in slow motion. It was a anti-war piece because in these years Vietnam was going on. So a lot of our earlier pieces had political messages. In fact, this piece called Game, where two brothers end up killing, in a civil war. It's sort of like the history of the Civil War in the USA. Two brothers who were close as youngsters become on opposite sides, and one brother kills the other. It's a classic story, but in the piece, I get shot and I do a slow motion roll, and this long hair would fall slowly because it's curly. It wouldn't just flop. So the illusion was that the hair was even moving in slow motion. And people used to tell me that. They would say, even your hair moved in slow motion, which was, very ego boosting. But
and is your body moving in?
Yeah, my body. In fact, there's video that we'll see where you can see this move. I have video from the 70s that we'll look at where this piece is actually part of that. This is Tonya Shimon, who was a big-time modern dancer in New York City who I was married to for a period of time, and is also the mother of my son. And so these masks I designed myself. I have many, many masks. This is a piece called Truck Dog. This is a piece from the 90s. So this is actually a cutout photo. This whole image is about that high. And it's a very popular piece called Truck Dog. It's about a dog who's a poet and a storyteller that lives in the back of a pickup. And it's very poetic. There's a whole riff about the wind in his whiskers, and I use an electric fan. There's lots of video about that. I did that piece all over the States and even in Mexico. So my work has been very physical. This is a piece with Tonya that looks like it could be from a modern dance piece. And this was also used as a classic photo in promotion. These are bamboo sticks. I've had companies. This is the cover of a James Donlon company. This is an image of one of my colleagues. These are company members. This is a really cool shot that was taken up behind the San Fernando Valley. I did a piece, I wrote a piece with these three women who were all former students of mine called Purge. And it's about women's place in society, how women need to embrace their power. So a lot of my pieces, because I grew up as an artist in the 60s with Vietnam and civil rights and assassinations and free love and drive. It was a very charged period of time, which we've all heard about or lived through. So as a mime, I said earlier that mime tends to flourish in moments of social unrest and social importance and movements. So mime was very popular in the late 60s and 70s. And so most of my pieces had a political or a social commentary underneath. And that used to set my work apart from others because I was always conscious of the message, not hitting people over the head, but still having, as a writer would have, or anybody that's, an artist that's responding to the world, you have comments and you record what's happening and you try to affect better change in the world through art. So it's not just entertainment. Entertainment is a way to get people to listen to you. But then, I always said you got to come in the back door. You can't just enter the front door and say, you got to believe this. You got to find a subtle way that's my belief, a subtle way to influence people.
And most of your pieces were full pieces with stories and all. You didn't do much vignettes of just...
Most of them were extended. There were some vignettes, but even they had a political message. Like one of the most popular pieces I did was called Pollution with Bob, and it was very simple. And I have a photo somewhere of that. But there was a man on stage, and a panther-like creature would slink out of the darkness, which was me, and he would slowly hunt the prey, which was the man, the Homo sapien in the middle, and eventually envelop the Homo sapien and destroy him. And then once the the creature was destroyed, almost like a cloud or a thick glue devouring somebody. Then the creature would turn to the audience and move off the stage, and the lights would go out. So this whole thing would happen maybe for 2 or 3 minutes, very short. And it was one of our most popular pieces in that time. And it was called Pollution. So it was a commentary on how pollution destroys the environment and human health. So even the short pieces had another piece that was called Pills, which is very popular, and I still use the theme, which was how drugs and mind-altering things can be used positively or negatively. So there was always some kind of social commentary going on.
Would you consider in the future doing a vignette about Nicole Good's shooting?
I could, yeah, I could.
Like what might she do?
Well, I was one thing that always was a signature of my pieces or our pieces was that you didn't want to be too specific with details. You wanted to work more thematically because you wanted your pieces to play in other cultures or other places in the world. So the themes are the same everywhere. The names change, right? And the detail, the events change, but the activities, the theme is always the same. So I was always careful. In other words, I probably wouldn't do a piece about a subway in New York and do it in India or someplace. But that's it. But now I actually have done a piece recently called, I can't remember the name right now, but it's actually based on Muni in San Francisco and all the characters that you find on a bus or a streetcar in San Francisco. And it's one of the most popular pieces I do, how humans it's about a guy taking a trip to the zoo and he sees all the animals and he plays the animals, and then he gets back on the bus and the passengers, the kind of eccentric passengers he encountered before on the bus have turned into different kinds of animals. And that people picked up. I performed it in San Francisco 2 years ago, and the critic who wrote about the performance said, "Oh, that reminds us of Muni." And I was, in that sense, I was really happy that they got the connection. This is Kathy Bates in a movie called Dolores Claiborne in the 90s. So part of my career has been as a movement coach in Hollywood with Oscar-winning actors. So this is a good example. This is a movie called Dolores Claiborne, written, was based on the novel by Stephen King. And this is on location in Nova Scotia. And I'm telling her how to swing an axe there.
Well, that's interesting. Back to the axe. In the movie, she throws an axe or something?
In the movie, she actually kills her husband, who's a pedophile, with their daughter. And she kills him by leading him on a chase where he's violently angry at her, and she leads him toward a well that's been boarded up and has rotten platforms, and he falls into the well and he doesn't survive.
What does she do with the axe?
The axe is used as a kind of a metaphor cinematically for tension and danger, and I can't really remember what she used it for. I think in this case she was chopping wood outside her cottage.
And would you spend some time with an axe to figure out what are the dynamics and then teach her about that? Or how?
Well, so much of the understanding of movement is observation. So it's not that I had to chop down trees to understand an axe. But if you're someone who I was from the very beginning, who looked at life, especially things in motion, you develop a sense about how things operate, how things function. So and also as a movement artist, you understand muscular activity, breath and muscles, without being a physiologist, because you embody those sensations. So some of us can understand what's happening in our body, and we can articulate that to others. So if I'm an artist who teaches, and am a good teacher, I understand, actually without even, what is this called, talent, or I don't know, but I've always been able to create a sense of time and space through motion very effectively in different levels, not only abstraction, but in cases very literally. So in this movie, I was actually the fight coach too, which was amazing because usually the stunt director does that kind of work, but the director allowed me to direct the fights kind of under the table, the violence in the film. So that's understanding drama and motion and time and space and how it all comes together to create a mood. So this act idea you're talking about is simply understanding how to create force behind an axe movement that makes it look like it's more violent than it would be because and so forth.
What type of direction might you have given her to get force with the axe?
Well, there's a principle that I use which is almost the exact opposite of the classic mime, and for me it's based on science. So when I first went to college, I was a zoology major, mainly because they wanted us to beat the Russians in the 60s, and they pushed everybody to be a scientist. This is before I became an artist. So I learned in physics class that you put energy into an object before it, or an entity to get it to move. You have to put energy into, like if I'm going to push you, I've got to do something first to get you to move. So in movement, this is a really simple example. If I'm going to pull this line with resistance, I have to move first before it moves. It's that simple. I have to move first before it moves. If I'm going to push on something, I have to move first. This is called isolation of a point in space. I have to do this to do that. Like if we had a wall here, I could give that example actually. You can't move a wall unless you put your weight into it. You just can't do it. Or if you're incredibly strong, you got to use your muscles before the wall moves. So something happens before the object moves. So in the axe, I might say you move your body before the axe moves. If the axe has a mind of its own, it's the opposite. If it's a magical axe, it's going to move first and you're going to move. If someone pushes me, they're going to move first and I move second. So if my hand, good example, if I have a wild hand, this is actually an exercise. I would learn to do stuff like where it moves me. I'm doing this with my same body, but I'm trying to use that principle. Like if I'm going to pull myself that way, my hand would move before I would move up here. Or if I'm going to push me, it would do this before I do this. If I'm going to move my hand, I would do this, but then it would move. Like come over, let's say it's a heavy hand. See, now I'm doing the opposite. I'm moving the body first before the hand moves. If it's magical, it goes first. Now it's pulling me around like somebody's yanking me around, right? So as a mime, you learn about putting activity or the brain in other, different parts of your body. So if my arm does this and does this, the brain is in my hand because it's got its own creature.
That's cool.
If I move first, then the brain is up here or in my body. So you understand those points of energy. So in this axe idea, that you would work with things like that is the axe. Let's say it's heavy. If it's heavy, you got to put more resistance into your body first. If it's light, you don't put anything. The lighter it gets. And if it's like so light that it floats, it's going to move before you move. So just using that. So a lot of classic mime doesn't really work with that in the way that, and that's mainly because Francisconi and I learned our craft or trained in our craft behind the Redwood Curtain up in Humboldt State in the 60s behind the, which is isolated. It was like halfway between Portland and San Francisco on the coast behind the redwood trees. So we didn't have a lot of role models, so we would develop our own approaches based, in this sense, on science. And we made a technique out of it. And you can usually, if I've trained somebody, people always say, oh, you're Donlon, that person's Donlon trained, because something like this would be in their work, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't remember what this was about particularly. This is the truck dog piece. This is a story about two snakes called that are attacking him, and this is a good idea. I mean, an example of the hand having its own brain. That's a snake. That's his partner, and the snake. You'll see some of this on video. Here's the truck dog. These are some pieces that I directed. This is the famous Boxtails Theater Company in Santa Barbara. This is on location in Nova Scotia with the movie. This is a poster of a piece called Dibujos de Nuestra Frontera, which means drawings or scribbles of our frontier, which was another piece about the border, actually, socially and so forth, and based on a journal of one of the actors whose mother was, as an immigrant, this is actually a good story for you, which is she was kidnapped in Mexico. She was Colombian and was going through Mexico, and she was kidnapped in Mexico City because they told her, don't talk like a Mexican. Because, you know, Spanish has regionalisms and accents just like English does, right? Don't talk like a Colombian because you're going to get in trouble. Talk like a Mexican. She was heading north to the border. And she was kidnapped, and this kidnapper treated her like his wife and would rape her every day and travel around Mexico for 3 weeks. And there was a journal, and eventually she ended up being able to cross the border, and she became a school teacher in LA. And this journal of this adventure became the basis of this play. And it was interesting how she escaped. She had two brothers that were already in the States, and this kidnapper would get her to call every day to ask for money on a payphone. Because this happened back in the 70s or, you know, a long time ago. So they still had payphones. And one day she said her brother walked in, found her in Mexico, because they had gone in looking for her. They found her, I think, in Mazatlan. And they were staying in a hotel down the street. And she called, and here's how the story went. She was making one of these calls, and the brother said, I'm at this hotel in Mexico looking for you. And she looked down the street, and she saw the hotel. It's like a movie. Saw the hotel name, and she said, to the kidnapper, my brother's here. He's in that hotel. And the guy goes, how big is he? And she said, he's bigger than you. And he split. And he disappeared. And eventually she got across the border. So that was one of the pieces that we played all the characters. And this is a piece, Vojta Šveda, who's one of Czech Republic's great young artists, the pieces I directed. Here's the movie sets again. Here's Taylor Hackford, the director. This is on the Dolores Claiborne movie, and he's asking me for opinions. This is David Strathairn, who was the other famous actor. This is Robert Shields, and I did a performance together. You remember Robert Shields. So he and I did a show together just a few years ago. We'll talk more about that. These are my masks.
Kudos is the name of it, huh?
No, this is a magazine around Sedona.
What is the name of the show you did with Robert Shields?
It was called something, I can't remember, something in Mayhem.
Okay.
I'm in Mayhem, something like that. I've had 2 schools in my career. These are the students in San Francisco. This is the famous John Gilkey, who was a Cirque du Soleil clown for a long time. This is Leonard Pitt, who's another well-known mime, who's from the Bay Area. We did a show together a few years ago. That's Voida. Here's me in movement. This is a piece called Flush, another one of these. So this was about torture. This was during the Bush administration when waterboarding was happening. So this piece was called Flush, where this guy is in the wrong place at the wrong time and he gets taken by the authorities and they torture him to get information out of him, which he doesn't have because he had a mallet or something and he did something at the wrong time and they took him. There's a lot of metaphors, but we did a lot of research on actual torture, and one of the high points of that performance was that we took witnesses or a jury out of the audience and we put them on stage, and we demonstrated to them through acting actual torture techniques, and they were supposed to ring a bell if they thought it was torture or not. And it was amazing how the audience would accept very horrible torture activities. And they came to we only did this show we did it in Czech Republic and we did it in Santa Barbara and we did it in San Francisco. We only did it 9, I think 10 performances. It was very, very rough on my psychology because I was the victim. And the guy who I was playing with, who had been a former student of mine, he started subconsciously dredging up all these bad feelings about me, whether I criticized him too much. And there was one scene in the play where he hits me with a rolled up yoga mat as a torture thing, which actually would be a good torture because it can hurt, but not hurt you so much. And he started hitting me so hard in the play, he broke the chair I was in. So there was just all these weird things, and it was a hard play. But getting back to this jury of people, we would ask, who's an educational professional here? Education professional. Who's a doctor? Who's a medical professional here? Who's a parent? Who's a law? Who works in the law area? And so we would get a cross section of people like that, like maybe 6 or 7, and they each had a little bell. And so we do these things. We went to UC Berkeley and actually talked to a torture expert, that was an expert on the means of torture, and we got some techniques. And we do these things, and people would not ring the bell sometime. And then it came to a head where we kind of reversed the roles. So I became the interrogator instead of the victim during this. And I went up to this woman, this good-looking woman, and I went, "Why don't you use some sex and see if you can get the information out of him?" I said that to her. So she went over there and she started like doing stuff in public that was really, really provocative. So I remember just thinking to myself, wow, human beings are a piece of work, man. When there's a sense of power and a possibility of power or riches, humans do crazy things. And you could see that side of human nature start to rear its head during this performance. So that was hard to take too.
Oh, when they had the bells, were they being tortured?
No, they were watching. It's like my fellow, there were only 2 of us in the show. So we would put them in a jury box, so to speak, on stage with us after we'd selected them from the audience, from the different fields, like one was a social worker maybe or something like that. They each had little bells. And if we'd do something and then we'd say, okay, is this torture or not? And sometimes they'd ring the bell and sometimes they wouldn't. But everything we did was a real torture technique based on research. It was eye-opening. It was really,
what did that say about people that they don't?
Well, it says that human beings are, I've been thinking a lot about this recently. I'm starting to believe that, that there really are aliens who have interrupted history of the world and implanted us or formed our DNA some way, because we're so different than animals. Animals don't destroy themselves but humans destroy everything. They either build it up or they destroy it. There's a yin and a yang, that's in humans. And animals usually don't have. I mean, sure, black widows eat their male partners, but, for different reasons. But humans consciously will, through provocations, will destroy the environment, each other, whatever. War. I mean, humans are always at war. Always. There's always violence of some kind. we can't control our emotions very easily. So I'm starting to think that through the billions of years or the millions of years that this planet's been here, that maybe we're the ninth iteration of human beings. That are why aren't maybe we're in a terrarium or somewhere in somebody's just like ants or something in somebody's infinite world out there. So yeah. This is Bill Irwin doing a workshop in my school. Bill Irwin's a very famous Tony Award winning. So I've performed many plays. This is a festival that my wife and I were in, Alina, in Chihuahua, Mexico. That's a great image with the clown nose on the dog. These are more contemporary shots of performances I've done recently. This is a piece that is very strong called Caliban's Dreams. It's actually a retelling of The Tempest through Caliban's eyes. It's a role I played in Shakespeare, but then I wrote a play based on what really happened from Caliban's point of view. Yeah, so anyway, there's a lot of...
Tell me the shot of you and Elena.
This one here. This is a publicity shot. This is, I would do workshops with, these are masks. And Alina and I performed together, so we use this for, publicity for different projects we've done. These are students in Cuba. This is me on a journey to Europe, trying to find a new character. This is only a few years ago. This is a Picasso mural, Guernica. No, it's not Guernica. There's some other, but it's a compilation of Picasso and other Spanish artists in, I think that's Madrid. So here's more contemporary images, quite a contrast from the white-faced mime.
Are you able to go more full screen, lose the stuff at the bottom of the thing?
I don't know how to do that.
Actually, it lives.
But, you can look through this and see what's here.
Click on that thing right there.
This one?
The green thing.
That goes full screen.
Yeah,
oh,
that's what I want. Okay, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Stand by. Oh, okay, yeah.
Let me show you. There's a good photo in here that I think is classic. It's on a different page. It's not in this. Here's the timeline, by the way. If you want to see the arc of my career, some of these photos are going to be in this thing. So there'll be a little thing with a year when all this stuff happened. So you can just, if you can use this as resource material.
Okay.
But I was going to find, there's this one photo, where is it? I think it's in here. Let's see. Oh, here's a good photo. This is, that's me when I'm about 3 or 4 in the woods up behind Santa Paula, looking at the trees. But there's one I'm trying to find that's what would that be? I think it's in here. It's me in a oh no, it's in the gallery. This is another thing that might be a resource for you. So these are, see the decades? This is 47 to 1970, 71 to 80, 81 to 97, 98 to 2009, 2010 to present, even though the last 3 or 4 years, which I've done a lot of stuff in the last, for example, Luciano won't be in this because I haven't updated it. But there's a photo in here I really like. You can go back, here, this one. This is me in a clown trunk. Here's a shot of me shooting a basketball. So you can find, but anyway, going back to this one. So if you look at that image, okay, then I'm going to show you another image, which is related much, like 25, 30 years later. Let's look at this period. Where is it? Oh, so you remember the one of me in the box? Look at that. So it's interesting. Here I'm in a trunk, but it's that one of me as a kid inside this box, and then decades later I'm doing this. It's kind of interesting, Yeah, so that timeline's there, but if you want to go, there's more photos by decade here that are it's probably among the best I have. You know, like this photo was shot in probably 10-degree weather in North Carolina outside, you know, to get the effect. You know, shots like this. These photos are all taken by the nephew of Richard Avedon. Let's see what else there might be. I always liked this one. This was one of the earlier photos. This is from the early 70s, maybe 73, which is very rock and roll like. You know, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what else. This is on sand dunes up Northern California with one of my original groups. So you can, you know, if you want to use, you can lift any of these photos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are they good quality stuff on the website?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think we'll have used them. Yeah,
Okay.
I think so.
Great.
And if you don't have, I also have them in other files. You know, if you like one and it doesn't quite work off the website, you can. I'll have it on a thumb drive somewhere.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, should we go to some video now?
Sure. Let me get rid of this thing. There's a lot of it. What I'll do is, I'm pretty familiar with it, so I can pinpoint the ones that I think are more interesting or representative. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, okay, let's see what you have.
Okay, here's the hard drive. There's a lot of other stuff on that, but these, let me find them first. I didn't get ready for this like I should have. That's Italy right there. I do have it.
This is the large black external hard drive that James has. And can you tell me what file it's in? Or the name of?
What that was?
Well, anything that you're playing.
It's all this. These are all videos.
Okay, so where did you navigate from? Videos?
Oh, okay, in my heart it says videos.
Okay, it's the videos folder.
I want to make sure that that's all of them in this. And then some of the best ones are in here. Let's see. But we don't have to use all of them for sure. But it says videos. So I can actually move this somewhere else. I mean, it's easy to do that.
Well, you can leave it
We
there.
can copy it to something else.
Yeah. So you're
the
videos folder.
Yeah.
And now which folder are you going to open?
Okay, the one I just opened was UCSB classes,
Okay.
1986.
Why don't you open that?
Okay, this is teaching. And I haven't looked at this probably since 1986. I never really looked at it because I do it every day. I did it every day. But there's two videos. One is an hour and a half. Let's see how long this one is. They're different because I know they did it.
We'll just spot check it or something.
Yeah, let me, what's going on here? You might have to help me. Why is this up here? Welcome to TV. Yeah. How do I get rid of that?
Well, I think you can just...
Whoop. Oh, here, it just came on.
Okay, so you don't know which video this is?
Yeah, it's the second one.
The second video.
There's two videos.
Okay.
So this is Matt Taviani this is trippy. So this is me teaching, like I'll probably be in the images. And what they did was in my studio, they just shot the atmosphere and exercises, and I would narrate. So you can see what it is.
So this is a UCSB class?
This is a BFA acting class. Because we had a conservatory at UCSB. Okay? So it was a professional actor training program. It still exists. So it was a 3.5-year program, and you had to audition to get into it. First of all, you had to audition to get into the drama department program for acting, and then you had to, be selected to be in the BFA acting, which is like a conservatory. So I had just come from the North Carolina School of the Arts, which I mentioned, where I was had orchestrated this movement curriculum for actors. And the state of North Carolina was going to give me a state-supported mime school. But I was young. I was like 30 years old, and I didn't want to stick around that. I wanted to go explore, so I never did that. So many times I think to myself, what if I'd actually decided to stay in Winston-Salem, North Carolina? The state of North Carolina was going to state support a mime school and a state art school, which is unheard of. I don't think there's anything like that in the whole United States. It's like being in the Czech Republic with a national conservatory. So I just created this program, and so this at UC Santa Barbara was the next iteration of my curriculum, of my process. So.
And did you get the UC Santa Barbara thing based on what you'd done in North?
Oh, it's all the same era, So this would have been the way I would have taught in conservatories in the 80s.
Can you play some and maybe comment on what you're doing?
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to see. Let's see. There's me. Whoops. Let's see. So I was a popular teacher. That's why they're all laughing and friendly to me. But let me, these are warm-ups. So my work, because do we need sound here?
A little bit of sound.
Yeah, let me lower it, because you won't hear me.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good shot.
I think that's a good.
So there was stretching, there were acrobatics on mats, there were partner exercises. What else do we have here? There was, this is a very important part of the training, there was a face covering, it would take away your face. So it would force you to use your body to express yourself. You can see through those and you can breathe through them. They're using sticks or staffs, which is exploring movement, the linear geometric kind of movement, as well as how to handle an object. This is throwing energy. Here's an improv with that's the end of that. Oop, there's more. So it's a total, these are warm-ups. You do the face.
What is going on here?
What is going on here is you're doing an exercise like this. Or you're doing this. Or you're doing this. And the point is, people go to the gym to work on their body, so an actor has to go to the face gym to develop their face, so the face will have a glow. You can tell people that have worked out have an energy about them, right? Well, the same thing is true with a face. If you work your face, your emotions will come out of you more easily, and you'll have a glowing, face that plays across distance. And for film, it's very valuable too, because just the slightest movement can dictate, because the camera, of course, picks up subtleties, and you can't mug for a camera, you have to be much more subtle. So, but just by being present, your face will emit, emotion and energy, and you learn how to isolate different aspects. So they're doing something with a hand there. Same thing with the hand. This is called a hand undulation. And, it's like a wave. So this goes back to Humboldt State with the wild coastlines and the forest. So here's the swell forming. Here's the energy going that direction. There's the break, and there's the surf going up on the beach. Then it comes back. The swell starts to form, and then the energy is moving through your hand. And then you work muscles, which most people don't. There's an internal core muscles of the hand that normal people don't play with. It's not just gripping. There's, like people don't move their hips unless you're from Cuba, But, so you got to find the core of your hand, and it makes your hand stronger. And then this idea of putting the brain in different parts of your hand. Like right now, my brain is in this part of my hand. I can feel that it's pushing, the energy's pushing forward, but you can also pull forward. Like here's the same movement, but what I'm doing is now pulling with my fingers. And if I do this, I'm pushing with the back of my hand. It looks the same, but I feel a difference. This is, here's an important one. It's called pecking.
Yeah.
This is a key of all mime illusion.
Can you play it while you're doing
Yeah, I'll do it for you too. It's interesting, we look through these, let me go back a little bit. We look through these students. Some of them are very famous actors, not famous, but are career professional actors, and here they are very young. Let's see here.
Is Ben Bratton one of them?
I don't know, you might be. I think this is before him. No, this is after him. He's left already. This is what he would have done.
Okay.
I don't think he's, but I'm trying to find that pecking again. Teamwork, this is images in space. I don't know, where was the pecking? I think it was coming up right about, where was that? I don't know. Where was that?
Well, maybe you can just leave it frozen and tell. And
Yeah, I can tell you. This
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
there's the black hood. Everybody had to have their own hood. I don't know where it was.
Okay,
but
so you can just.
so there's an exercise called pecking. Let me make sure there's an image there maybe. There's an exercise called pecking.
Why don't you just pause it?
Yeah. It's about the concept of the isolated point in space. So if I look in the space, I'll see an area of energy, right? Like you're an area of energy, I'm looking at you. But if you were sitting right there, I'd look at you like this. You're right there. Not looking, okay, now I'm looking at the bed. Now I'm looking at you sitting right there. Do you see a difference in my eyes, in my intention? Now I'm looking at something flying right there. Okay, so you, as a mime, you train yourself to, an actor should do, you train yourself to focus your imagination physically in different spaces to create reality, okay? So if I'm looking at the bed, it's not an energy right there. So anyway, it teaches one about concentration and the centering of energy.
Why is it called pecking?
I'll explain that.
Okay.
So the exercise is like this, okay? Okay, so first of all, I'm looking at that point and I'm trying to touch and grab that entity of energy. So the pecking motion comes from this kind of feel. It's like a bird pecking, right? But the idea is to grab something that's solid. So once it's there, it can't move. That's that point in space. Remember we talked about how something has resistance? So when I was doing that earlier, like this kind of thing, there's 2 points here. This is a point and this is a point. So that point moved before the other point, or that point moved. So when I do this, it can pull me, it can push me. I can push it. I'm doing that same thing of body moving before putting energy, or it can push me. So this is how you learn that concept. And you learn where the focus of energy becomes, because everything is a point in space. This is a point in space, that's a point in space, the house is a point in space. It's about developing a sense of geography in your environment, personal geography, okay? So the pecking exercise is the foundation of that concept. So right now I'm trying to see a field of play here, like it's a panel or something, and it has stars on it or dots. And I'm trying to, first of all, see the dot. I can't look at you. I'm looking at you now. I'm not looking at the dot. Now I'm looking at the dots. Oh, maybe they're right here. You see the point? Or, oh, there's the moon. I'm looking beyond. I'm not looking at the, now I'm looking at the ceiling. If I go beyond the ceiling, my eyes do that. There's a change of energy. So, like now I'm looking at the ocean, 15 miles away. Now I'm looking at a point in space. So this exercise develops this sensitivity to the environment,
Nice.
you know?
Okay.
Like the camera is a point in space. So as a performer, the camera is a witness or a public, you know, an audience, right? So when I'm talking to you, if I want to, I want to know where the camera is because I can navigate where I am in relation to that. And I remember one of the things I learned from working in Hollywood is some of the best actors, that we're talking about Oscar winners, they would say, before the scene would go, they go, where's the camera? Where's the camera going to be? And so I'm assuming that they're navigating their behavior in relation to the witness, right? Of course they are. So that's why mime is very cinematic, because not only do you edit time and space, but you use camera angles and panning and all kinds of things. You know, like if I'm walking and I move through space to give the sense of going on a journey, that's like a panning camera, just moving the energy like that. Or I do something like that, maybe that's a close-up. You know, I'm trying to provide energy to my face. Or if I do this, I want the audience to look at that. So it's very cinematic in the sense of the camera can be anywhere in your space. And there's an angle and there's a relationship. And then the editing is even more similar, because you can edit in mime just like you do in movies. You can be here in New York in this second, and then the next second you're in the bathtub in your apartment. I mean, you can be on the street, let's say, at this second, and the next second you can be in a bathtub. If your points in space are mastered, you know, if you know where your geography is, you can edit pretty easily. So that's the nature of mime. It's very complex. And one of the reasons there aren't a lot of mimes around, because people, first of all, don't want to invest the time to learn how to do that kind of thing. And secondly, it takes a long time to develop that. You know, there's certain people that have natural gifts that comes pretty easily, but so all these techniques were used in this training process to help the actor to be present and grounded and be able to move fluidly to another location in reality and know exactly where they are, you know.
Do you know the name of that file?
Yeah. Let's go back. Whoops. Let's go back to the
Yeah, it's either that one or this
the one we were just looking. Well, they're both the same.
UCSB class number 2.
And this is class number 1.
Okay.
They're both the same.
Oh, they're
I mean, they're not the same material, but it's the same.
same place. What did
same
we just
idea.
play? You just played number 2.
Yeah, and then the first time we played this one. I mean, there's 2 of them because it's all different exercises.
Okay.
Like there's probably 3 hours of material here of different classic exercises that I would have done in the 80s with students. This is an important one too. This is they're improvising, but they're trying to develop a sense of dialogue. Like everything is a dialogue in reality. In other words, okay, I'm obviously talking to you. I'm obviously interacting with the camera, but I'm also right now, I could say that I'm juggling right now. What do I mean by that? I'm sitting on a chair with leaning on this table. So I am in dialogue with this table and this chair and this force out here. So to help me be present in the way I want to be present, it's important for me to know if I want to feel more tired or bored, I'm going to use this table as a place to lean on. Okay, for example. You know, if I want to be a little more interesting, but still a little tired, I might, instead of like this, I might do this, but I'm still leaning on the table, for example, right? So this is a dialogue, like I'm interacting with other energy to create a mood. So obviously when we talk to each other in a conversation, we're interchanging energy, right? But you do that just living. Every point of your life is in dialogue with something. So I like to kind of make people think when I say, oh, I'm juggling right now. What do you mean you're juggling? Well, I'm sitting in this chair, and right now I'm really stable. But if I start to slouch and get near the edge of the chair, it gets a little more fragile. And right now, I know that I'm on the edge, but I also know I can go a little further, but not much because the chair started to move. If I go a little bit further, I'm going to fall down. So if I want to create the mood of falling down, I'll fall down. But this hand is also important because I'm bracing myself here. So if I went a little further, and I'm off it now, but I'm not falling because of all this happening. So anybody that's good at moving or graceful with moving, they do this naturally. They juggle environmental points to balance or be off balance, but never out of control. Never out of control.
Nice.
And when you get injured, usually in a game or, let's say, stage combat, you know, someone else usually has interrupted your dialogue and made it, the events happen that you didn't create yourself. Like I had a horrible sports injury when I was 18. I broke this arm in a basketball game. I still have metal in my arm. I can, to this day, I can remember going up for the shot. I could jump really high, and the basket was right there, and I was laying it in. And the next thing I knew, I was in the air like this, looking at the other end of the court with my arm behind me because someone had knocked my legs out from under me. It's called low bridging in sports. It's a nasty thing. And I slammed down, and I remember sitting up, and I had 2 elbows. But that's a good example. I mean, I had all this energy of where I wanted to go, and suddenly I was knocked away by someone else's careless.
So you didn't have control over the...
Not when it hit me, yeah. So, no, I didn't have control. And that was a big shock. You know, it's like being in a car crash. You know, you don't have control over... I mean, if you're a good driver, you're all the stuff I'm talking about, you do. But someone's still going to hit you, maybe, because they're not aware. You know.
Can't control everything.
Yeah, right. Anyway, it's very logical.
Well, those are 2 good videos then from you.
Yeah, I think you could probably get some information out of that. And I haven't, like I say, I haven't looked at these. I don't know how to get rid of this window.
Maybe you just hit the yellow thing to minimize it.
Oh, it went away.
Okay, so you're here. You could go back and see what else.
Yeah, okay, so there's lots of stuff here.
And tell me, before you open it, say what the name of that file is.
The one that we just looked at?
Well, no, what you're going to open now.
All right, let's open. You want to go chronologically, or?
Yeah, let's go chronologically.
All right, let me find the, mime might be in here. Let's see. There's someone, okay, wait. MimeWorks Menagerie. There's even an old PBS special on there from like decades ago.
Oh, that you're in?
Yeah, it's about me. Yeah, it's about me. I'll show it to you. Yeah. Okay, I think.
Well, what folder did you just open? Did you identify?
This is called Mime Clown Videos, but I'm going to go chronologically, and that's not it.
Okay.
I think maybe if we do this again, I need to prepare myself better. Here, let me, I think it's an Hawk. Let me get out of this for a minute. Let me make sure it's not here. Mime Clown Video, let me go back here. All Are Clowns, that's from the 80s. I want to find the very first one. It's not in this one. MimeWorks. There's also...
So each time you click on something, can you tell me what you clicked on?
This is MimeWorks video, Santa Barbara, 2005.
Okay. And
But this is...
And when you click on it, say I'm clicking on it.
Okay. This is MimeWorks number 1.
Okay.
And I don't know what this is. Let me...
I'm just going to check.
Newbury Park, that's a good one. But I want to, these are ones a little later. This is Piper's Voyage. This is 1981, which was a children's show.
Is the file called 1981?
No, it's called, I'm sorry, it's called Piper's Voyage.
Piper?
Piper's Voyage,
Okay.
1981.
Okay.
But I want to
And now you're clicking on.
I'm trying to get out of here. I'm gonna get this, eject this and go to I'm gonna find
Okay.
we're gonna try to go chronologically.
Okay.
This stuff is more, it's good for me to see these because now I know where things are a little bit. Okay, let me go back here. Okay, I want to get rid of this.
And what are you plugging in now?
This is a thumb drive called Hawk.
HAWK.
Yep. And I think this might have a bunch of video. Let's see. Here, is either that one or that one. How's this go? I'm not sure. I can go through these quickly. Some of these probably I don't have anything on. I can get rid of them. Let's see what this one is. Quick note. What do you mean quick note? Pshit. This is a thumb drive called Hawk.
Okay, and now you're going to try.
This is more recent. So this is with Alina in it. So I'm going to eject this.
Okay.
I should write this down too.
Do you want a piece of?
Yeah, just what, I think I have it on, actually I do have it in a file somewhere, but I don't know where it is. Let me just write it down. So Hawkwood Circle. Okay. Let's get rid of that. Hawk. Whoop. Why didn't it go away? Oh, there it went. I'm going to put this over here.
Tell Alina she can come in anytime.
Did she arrive, do we know? All right. Let me look at,
Hold on a second.
Yep.
Okay, so you have the thumb drive Hawk.
okay, yeah, we're not using that now.
Okay, which thumb drive?
Right now I have one called Mime Video.
Mine video, okay.
And it's on the desktop it says Mime, but it's on the label says Mime Video.
Okay.
And inside this are all my classic, there's 1975, Columbia College. This is the first video I have of anything I do.
Wow, okay.
Okay?
Yeah,
I'm gonna click on it.
okay.
And you're gonna see it's really bad. It's not, it won't always be this dark, but
And angle it a little more towards me, okay.
so this is the chrysalis of my one-man show. This might be the first one-man show I ever did. I think it is. And it's at a junior college called Columbia College up near the Sierras. So I'm trying on different masks. It's like finding your identity. That's the piece. I have a video of this piece that's more contemporary in color from 10 years later. That's a good quality video that would be the same. But this is the chrysalis of this idea.
What year is this about?
1975.
Nice, you have video from there.
Yeah. So
And you're trying on different masks.
there's 3 masks. He'll go back and get another one. These are masks I made too. This is my first exploration with paper mache to build a mask. And I still have these masks actually in a special bag. They're up north.
Turn down the volume on them. And what's the theme of the exercise?
This is a piece called, what was it called? Can't remember what it's called right now.
Okay.
It's about, there are 3 masks, and this faceless character, it's like a Spider-Man suit, you know, before Spider-Man wore Spider-Man suits. He's trying to find his identity. And so he tries on a mask, and he says, well, do I want to be this angry guy? No, I don't want to be that. And so he tries on these masks. It's like a person trying out different identities as you grow up. Like, who am I? It's basically about who am I? Okay? And in the end, he's going to take everything off, and his natural face is there. And that's how the piece ends. And it's very effective as a piece.
What's the point that, is there a point to the end of his natural face at the end?
The point would be that, well, metaphorically and visually, you found yourself. Don't have a mask on. It's me, James. This is what I look like. Just my natural face. This is the first show I did without a white face. You remember the photographs of the white face? In this face, I didn't use a white face. I just used some eyeliner a little bit, like Mick Jagger or something, you know. This is the first mask I ever built. There's some other videos where this mask is clear. And maybe in the future, when I go up north, I'll bring these original masks down. They're pretty cool.
Just seeing how well I can see there. Okay, not there.
This video that I'm watching is called, well, I don't know, I have to, because you should know, you know, you should.
We could get the name later.
Yeah, well, when I get out of it, I'll see the name.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think it says Columbia College, 1975. I think that's the. So, what do you want me to do?
Okay, just go to about here and see what's going on.
Yeah, this is later in the show. So, in my work, this is a good example. In my work, I was very influenced by Samuel Beckett, the famous playwright who wrote Waiting for Godot, and others. So I've always...
How were you, like, what did you get?
Yeah, I was always influenced by that. First of all, we studied it in school. Let me turn the sound down a little bit. Oops, why'd it go away? Oh, I pushed escape. Let me go back to it. It's called Columbia College, 1975. I'm going to write it on here. Let me go back to where it was. Oh, there it is. This is a really good piece. I have other videos of it later, maybe 8 years later, that are pretty good with color. And they were shot by the video department at North Carolina School of the Arts. But, so Samuel Beckett, when he wrote Waiting for Godot, it was a shocking new way to look at theater, in the theater world and in culture. And some people were...
Would you turn off the sound?
Yeah. And people were amazed by it, or they were totally bored by it, one or the other. There was no middle ground.
And how was it different than anything?
It was different because it was more abstract, and it was, the language is very poetic. In other words, you have to be a kind of a, I don't want to say romantic, but you have to understand that abstraction can be truth. And most theater at that time were box sets, which means like a room with doors and windows and furniture, and people were, it was like the, you know, the theater was still trying to recreate reality behind the fourth wall. So you had a lot of plays that were like movies, you know, in terms of interaction, you know, very real. So Waiting for Godot was one of the first plays. It's called Theater of the Absurd. There was a whole movement. It was one of these plays where poetry and abstraction as an artistic expression was used on stage, apart from dance. Like, you know, a few years before that, Martha Graham had started the modern dance movement, and these great modern dance pioneers. So theater was trying to do the same thing. So he wrote this piece that a lot of people think is very, very depressing and dark. It's these two tramps who have an appointment with this landowner who could be God, who knows, and he never comes. So they find ways to entertain themselves and live, but also a stranger visits them who's this rich guy with a slave, Lucky and Pazzo, and so there's a commentary on class and so forth. This is written right after World War II, so the world had been in turmoil. And
does it not have the typical set of
no, it's a wasteland. It's a little bit like some of the Netflix things people put out today, with this wasteland after the atomic bomb, or the hydrogen bomb and rebuilding of society. So the play was actually written as a clown play, says Samuel Beckett. He was influenced by circus clowns, and he wrote this play. So in my feeling, a lot of directors and actors don't understand the comedy or the positive or the execution of the moments unless you're a clown. So for example, Bill Irwin is one of the most famous clowns America has had, and one of his specialties is Waiting for Godot. Like Waiting for Godot was done on Broadway, and Robin Williams played one of the tramps, and Steve Martin has played one of the tramps. So you have to have a sense of the absurdity of, comedy in essence is absurdity. Things happen that go against physics, and people laugh at it, So this play is actually, to me, it always meant human being trying to find ways to live positively through their games and through their imagination. But very often, Waiting for Godot is produced as a dark, depressing, nihilistic, almost like, why are we here? Sure, there's some of that, but then there's this positive energy by the two individuals to try to make the best of life. So the fact that it was originally inspired by clowns, comes into my territory as a mime and clown. So I look at it differently. I've been pretty successful with Godot. I've directed it and been in it, and it's gone well, right? And I'd like to do it again before I die. So some of the pieces in my work in 1975 were influenced by Waiting for Godot in terms of the starkness of it, the absurdity of it, the outside forces you can't control. You'd have to look at it carefully where I would point out what's happening there. But it's pretty obvious what's happening. But anyway, all I'm saying is I was influenced by Waiting for Godot. All right. This piece is I'm standing on top of a stepladder that's about 5 feet tall. So eventually I would stand on top of a ladder that's 10 feet tall when I was more experienced. And it's about a guy. It's a clown piece. The guy, and there's lots of video of that piece through the ages that I have. But it's the guy who, and he has to climb a ladder to try to change a light bulb, and he gets stuck up there. And then how do I get down? And he's afraid of heights. And he has to find a way to get down. So that's all the piece is. So great clowning is really about everyday activities and challenges and problems you have to solve in creative ways.
How does he get down?
He finds that newspaper, makes him lighter, and he sticks it in his clothes, and he floats down. That's all I can say now. You have to see it.
Okay.
Which is interesting about this piece also is that one of the methods that clowns use to create characters are making a character based on a human weakness, a personal weakness. And at one time I thought this was common training for clowns, but it's not. It may have some influence by the Lecoq School, which is a whole other conversation. But most clowns today wouldn't even understand what I'm talking about. They're so far afield from this idea. But what this is basically is you understand that comedy is basically laughing at other people's problems. If you really think about it, like if you slip on a banana peel, it hurts the person that happened to. Like slapstick. Slapstick are two people beating the shit out of each other. But that's been used as comedy. Like Punch and Judy was very violent, but that was a comedy, social commentary piece. So people tend to laugh at other people's predicaments, whether you're clumsy or you're being, you're not successful in love or whatever it is, it's a personal problem. So if you take a weakness, like in this case, James is really afraid of heights. I'm afraid of heights. But here I am on a 10-foot ladder with nothing to hold on to, and I made a character in that situation. So some interesting things happened. First of all, I had to conquer my fear of height in that place to do the technique to stay up there. But then I used the emotion that I'm familiar with to play the character and to do things that somebody afraid of heights might do. So it's very real in an abstract way for the clown.
You had a real fear of heights?
Yeah, I still do. I get it. Sometimes in airplanes, if I make my imagination do things, I'll look down at the ground, I mean, where you're 30,000 feet up, and I'll get queasy. I can, but I've flown enough times that that's not going to happen. I look at the big picture of, the landscape is amazing, But so that's an interesting thing. And then if I'd been away from that piece for a while, I would have to regain my confidence. Like I'd have to put the ladder near a wall and go up and just get reacclimated by holding onto the wall. Because eventually you have to be up there and you have to stand on one leg and you have to turn around and do all these things. like I used to go to the Grand Canyon and my knees would get weak just standing on the rim at the Grand Canyon. So I mean, I have that, there's that, whatever they call that, that's in me. So I based it on a character. I had another character called the Admiral, which is a retired pompous Marine officer. So I have a side of me that's really arrogant. So I made the character arrogant. I have another side of me that's really shy in a lot of ways, very shy. So I had another childlike character that was very shy. So so in this show in 1975, I was exploring these elements of the shyness, the arrogance, the waiting for Godot, the masks, the lack of white face makeup, the solo performance. That's a whole nother conversation of what's it like to do a one-person show. There's all kinds of elements there that are interesting to talk about and to think about.
Well, there's different aspects. Were you playing different characters or different characters of?
Well, there's a core I'll call it, say, every person. Like when you're in college, they say every man. That's a historical figure that's supposed to represent a human. In medieval times, there was the everyman character. So I always approached it as I am an every person, meaning that I embody a human. And I use elements of my personality to accentuate different aspects of a human being, all right? Because certain experiences and feelings are universal to all of us. So you're bordering on psychology and all kinds of really deep introspective thinking here, which is part of it, but you're still performing an art which has all these other techniques and formulas. Otherwise, you'd be a mental case, or you'd be a psychiatrist or a therapist, right? But all of that's intrinsic to being an actor, That's why actors drink a lot or do other things. There's a lot of psychology. So that as a mime and a clown, to me, it's an actor who can do anything. Like not all actors can ride a unicycle, but a clown can. But if you're not a good actor, you'll never be a good mime and never be a good clown. So you're taking the basis of being, you're taking it further into the performance. Then there's the other conversation, well, what's a performance and what's therapy? When does an art cease to be an art but becomes an event or a therapeutical happening? At one time in the 60s there were happenings, that whole period of art. And so you had the kind of like uncharted territory of art and being and therapy colliding together, and you came up with what they called the happening, which I always thought was just sloppy theater, because the technique of how to make theater was absent very often. But the adventurous and the courage to do happenings was sometimes not present in an actor. So what's the line? Where are you existing? I mean, that'll always be the conversation, right? In terms of art and therapy and whatever it is, it can be very depressing and very enlightening at the same time. I think as a performer, you go through all those that spectrum at some point or another, you know. Yeah. So anyway, this performance in 1975 was exploring all those, as a young artist, like all these things I've been talking about, like, who am I? Why am I doing this? Why? And what, will I make money out of this? That's the other thing that's very interesting. I never thought about money at all. Maybe that had something to do with being a child of the 50s, well, not the 50s, but the 60s. You were just very curious about life, and you could live very simply, you know, hence the counterculture, which lived pretty simply at that time. You weren't worried about your next job. You were not worried at all. You were just involved in a passionate exploration of life. And if you happened to be a writer or an artist or whatever you were, a farmer, you would go there, you know. There are a lot of 60s farmers, you know.
Are you questioning any new things now that you're 78? And
I'm not questioning. I'm just coming to, I'm trying to find peace with where I've come from and what I've done. So you're trying to get rid of regrets. You're trying to not have that interfere with your life at this point, because first of all, it happened before and you're never going to change it. So how do you navigate, and also how do you find your place as an artist, as an older artist, which is a whole conversation, but also an artist in this world today with all its, you know, traumas and uncharted territory. Like, I don't think I've ever been alive at another time where I wasn't sure what the future was gonna be. Like I always felt, oh yeah, we'll go on, but now I'm not sure, you know, like those old signs in the 60s, 70s, the world is ending, you know, those people, I'm starting to go like, well, maybe it is, you know? So, and then I'm going like, if I was a young artist today, I would be lost, because maybe I only say that because I experienced something else where I wasn't lost. Maybe it's all relative to your existence in its own time and space, but relative to where I was, I'm going like, wow, theater doesn't tour anymore. People don't go out anymore. Movie houses are vacant. You know, there's no touring groups except big, you know, money makers. You know, there's no exploration. There's no, let's take a chance on this. This looks interesting. That doesn't happen so much anymore. And as a younger artist, you're going like, what's the formula? Where do I go to get the bucks? Because it is hard to live now. I mean, I don't think, you know, when I lived in the converted chicken coop in 1970, you know, I couldn't do that now, you know, and actually not be starving, you know, but you could back then.
do you want to do any new work or creating?
Yeah, when the impulse hits me, like, one thing that I know how I've changed is I'm not driven to perform unless it's something entertaining and interesting for myself. Like the piece you saw with Luciano, that was fun for me. So I'll do that. And I enjoyed working with him. I enjoyed the interaction between cultures. But, you know, I'm at a point where I'm not driven to perform that, because first of all, it's a little too late to worry about fame and recognition, you know, in this world, because as an older person, I don't have all the tools that a younger person has in terms of like social media and all that. So I wouldn't even know how to navigate. And if I did, I don't know if I want to put the energy. I'm more interested in seeing the sun and, you know, feeling good in body and mind, not like finding a new label for myself, you know. I think I've come to that point. You know, they always say a positive thing is artists reinvent themselves, and that's a good thing. But I think there comes a point where, why even worry about that? Just go by impulse. You know, who cares about strategy anymore? It's too late for that, maybe. Takes too much energy.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
Good.
You want to look at another video?
Okay, yeah, let's look at another picture.
There's some. This particular one is early ones.
And let me know what you're opening.
Yeah. This is a good one. This is 1979 to 1983 performance pieces that were recorded.
That's the name of it.
It says 79-83, what was it, performance. So this should be, see here are these masks, but in a little better images. These were shot in.
Hold on 1 second. Possibly change the angle of that a little bit.
Yeah.
Let me. Hold on. There's more of a reflection on. Are you?
There's a lot of sun coming in there, huh?
You're playing. Is it playing?
It's playing.
Okay, just kind of dark on top. Okay, I see. Okay, what are we looking at?
This is recordings of my classic pieces in a studio without an audience, but it's a record of my typical performance pieces in late 70s, early 80s. And some of these pieces are what I would call my classics. Like they're ones I've done. Like one of the pieces I still do or have done.
I'm going to change the angle a
Yeah.
little bit. Yeah.
So here's that piece with the masks. This is 7 years later, and it also demonstrates the physical nature of my mime work, which was much more physical and dance-like than the typical mime of that time. I like any mimes I've seen, actually. So I didn't call myself a modern dancer, but I was doing moves that were dance-like, very athletic. And so I had a background of sports, basketball. I studied modern dance because I was married to one. And I was also in an arts conservatory, the North Carolina School of the Arts, which had a world-class dance division and I was allowed to take classes as a young guy, like a 30-year-old. So where my work was more physically related to sport in the beginning, it started to achieve dance quality in terms of how your body functioned, in terms of elasticity and strength and so forth. So I would incorporate that. One of the pieces on this video is kind of way ahead of its time. It's called Scribbles. It's basically me doodling on a piece of paper in real life, and then I would interpret that on the stage. So it's called Scribbles. And it was way ahead of its time. I used my voice too. Like I always felt voice was a gesture and movement was a voice. So I kind of, mimes aren't supposed to talk, but I could always make sounds and talk, even talk if I wanted to, because I felt it was a movement. And then I also thought that movement was a voice, not only through breath and percussive sounds on the floor or through your body. So this the first piece is that the discovery of the body, which was in that first video we saw.
Do we see scribbling in this?
No, this is not Scribbles. This is that other bit. No, it's late. I mean, there's a whole series of pieces.
Gotcha.
They're each about from 5 to 9 minutes long. So we can move ahead.
Okay.
But this first piece called, actually the name of it's going to be here. I forget, I can't think of the name right now. Let me see what it says. It should have a title. Nope, this one doesn't. I don't know, what did I call that? I think it's on another piece where there is a title.
Okay.
But anyway, the second one, this is my classic Fish, which you've seen. You've probably seen it live at my age, and you've seen a video of it, maybe on my website or somewhere. So this was a piece, a signature piece that combined the ritual of the ocean and the mantra of the ocean, which I grew up around, which I always, in interviews, I've talked about the sea. You probably you have recordings of that. So this piece is that famous, in the early days, that famous piece. Here's a good example of the point in space idea. See how body moves first? Watch. Pull, that move first before the hands move first. Okay? The next piece This is called Wood and Iron. This is very Beckett-like.
I'm sorry, back to the fish one.
Yep.
Are you imitating a fish?
I play the fish and I play a fisherman. You know, the great Old Man in the Sea theme by Hemingway. It's basically the Old Man in the Sea in this piece. It's like a human being in metaphoric battle with the fish. And I've talked before about my, you know, how my brain was formed by out here at the Channel Islands as a teenager and as a young kid. So, yeah, I play, and it originally had been a duo with my friend Bob Francisconi, my first partner, who we developed our technique together. He's the one that you should interview. Like, I'll give you, when we come to that, he'll be happy to talk about it. So originally it was a two-person piece. So when he decided not to tour anymore and perform mime, he became a director and an acting teacher. I decided to put it together in one piece, you know, and play both parts. That's the beauty of mime. You can play anything. I could play 100 people if I wanted to. I can play one. I can play my head. I can play my hand. You can play anything. That's what's so cool about it. It's total liberty. It's total freedom as an artist. Okay. Yeah. So the next piece is called Wood and Iron. This is the one very Beckett. It's actually the development of the clown, the process of the dramatic energy of the mime transferring to the clown through use of props, discovering props. One of the best critiques I ever got was in Switzerland during a tour. The critic said, James Donlon knows what flat is. James Donlon knows what an edge is. Meaning that, there's some other commentary, meaning that I would take really simple textures of life and create art with it, and people would understand and get something from it. So this piece is a lot about discovering textures. So the mime, you know, works with the body and space. The clown usually has more real props. So this whole piece is about that transformation from ethereal space to wood and iron, okay? And this is also the piece that culminates with the ladder, standing on the ladder, which got taller and taller through the years as I got more confident. Okay, this next piece is called Dream. I think it starts with here's some shots of the newspaper in wood and iron. It's a cool image. There's me on top of the ladder, and videographers would always not do this shot because the whole thing depends on seeing this relationship and that relationship. And sometimes people that weren't experienced videographers or didn't understand mime would shoot you just up here. So you never had the sense of that you're up in the air or the visual of the glob of newspaper on top of the ladder, which is really important to the piece. And sometimes they just, you know, it's like, let's just shoot a close-up. And they'd miss all that thing. That's why when you shoot mime, it's really challenging if you haven't done it before, because you got to have body shots as well as close-ups. And when do you do that, you know? So multi-camera shoots are usually better for a mime show because you can edit it together and tell the story, where one camera usually doesn't do it. And usually it's too far away or it misses something. Okay, this next one's called Dream. It's just basically me going through a dream it's a nightmare, really. So this recent piece that you saw with Luciano was called Dream Mechanic. So I've always been known for my study of the dream state, and that lends itself to the art of mime, because I just said you can do anything, and you can edit yourself and be cinematic. So this dream state of time and space in a surrealism is very accessible. So this is one of the first pieces I did based on that. This is the piece where my hair falls in slow motion too, apparently. They said, this one is also a good example of so the hair thing was there. I used to have longer hair and it would just it doesn't really fall in slow motion there. But I think part of the point is it was kind of long and it was curly, so it would hold its shape or move a little bit, which kind of lended itself with the movement, you know. It wasn't like stringy hair. Next piece, this is a short piece. It's a sight gag. That's a mask I made, which I have here actually in a box in there. I just used it in the, I brought it back after, I'll go back and look at that. I brought it back after, when's the last time I wore that thing? 30 years ago. Like probably right before the turn of the century. Or not even then, maybe before that. No, that would have, probably around 1998 I wore, like almost 30 years ago. So it's basically a mask that does things. You can pour water into it and pull plugs on the ears and a stream of water will come out because of gravity. And that's all it was. It was just a sight gag that very oftentimes I would open shows with it. So really simple, only maybe a minute long. The creature would come out and there'd be a container of liquid on the floor. And I just did it in this second LA Mine Festival. You know, I brought the thing out of mothballs. And I had forgotten, like here, this movement here is really challenging. I'm gonna take it without seeing it. You can't hardly see through that thing. I have to put this container up there and pour the water in without spilling it. I mean, real water, okay? And I got pretty good at it, but I wasn't so good at it recently because I hadn't done it for 30 years and I'd spill it sometime. And then what he does, he just pulls they're like eyedroppers with reversed, and the water, you can't really see it here, but the water just streams out like a fountain. And there's some other videos where it's clear that are more recent. And then I'd do that and the lights would go out. And that was it. People loved it. Just a funny slice of absurdity, surrealism. So this is the scribbles piece that I was explaining. This is the one that's really athletic and very dance-like, but it's based literally on my doodles, using voice and movement. And nobody was doing anything like that in the whole country at that time. Nobody was. I didn't think about it at that time, but as I think back, nobody was doing stuff like that.
Would you show them the scribble?
What do you mean, show?
Show the audience?
No,
Okay.
I just called it that. And then I mean, they understood what it was, that it was based on that. And I threw acrobatics into this too. Like, it's very rhythmic. Let me see if there's some acrobatics we can show. Oh, here we go. So I just worked at the circus where I learned how to do backflips and back handsprings on hard floors without mats. And I threw some of that into here. It's coming up in a minute. I think it's the next move. Let's see. Yeah. And some of it's almost like an absurd gymnastics event. I think it comes right here. So I'm going to do an acrobatic run across the floor. Not just a hardwood floor. I got so I could do it on concrete. And so here we go. Whoop. So there's a backflip. That was a round off, backflip, handspring. You know, so the backflip came right out of the handspring. And I was frightened to death to learn that. I didn't learn to do that until I was 31 or 2, which is pretty late for gymnastic people. Plus my body's not short and strong. It's kind of long and limber. I mean, I'm not a tall person, but I'm not short either. And I'm not a muscular person. So usually gymnasts are usually have an ectomorph, kind of strong body. And I'm not like that. So it has something to do with torque, because you can do a backflip in the air more easily if you're short, because there's less appendages, right? And if you're longer, like a 6'8" guy probably couldn't do a backflip. If you could, you'd be pretty phenomenal, because you're just too long and it's hard to get all that whipping around, right? Like dwarfs can do trampoline really easily. They just throw their head and they'll flip around because of just the way their bodies are made. And when I remember the process of learning that, there was another piece I'd do I'd take a pill and I'd do a flip. There's some video of that in here a little later of that ability. But it's frightened the hell out of me because I would think, God, I'm actually going to jump in the air and turn a circle and land on my feet. That scares the hell out of me. Like, how do you do that? It's actually a very simple move. You just have to do it quick and strong, and you have to do, there's only maybe 3 movements. You jump, reach, and tuck your knees up by your chest, and you'll flip around, and you got to land. It's actually pretty simple, but the whole thing is mostly mental. Like, how do you get your head around the fact that you're going to leave the ground and turn a circle like you're some magic person defeating physics and land on your feet? But then physics allow you to do that if you do the right sequence. If you don't do the right sequence, you'll crash. And I crashed a few times. The first time I tried a backflip in the performance, I had just sort of done it in warm-up with mats in the studio warming up, and I said, I'm going to do it tonight in this other piece. And I tried it, and I landed on my knees. And I got up very deliberately and did it again, which is, you know, I just took a moment. I just was selfie. I'm going to do it again. And I did it. And then I was able to do it. But then every once in a while, I'd psych myself out along the way, and I'd have to redo the steps of getting the courage to do it again. And the way I'd get out of the rut of not being psychologically able to do the flips is I would just throw myself into the air on a mat and land any crazy way until finally I would find the freedom of the right move, you know. But that was, for me, that was one of my greatest accomplishments. I actually learned how to do a backflip when I was 32. That was such a ego boost for me. It just, wow, that is so cool. So there was a period of time where I would just do it everywhere. I'd go out on the grass and I'd just do flips all over the place, and I did it on concrete in the, you know, in performances and on wood, but eventually you have to stop because I still have a wrecked wrist from doing too many handspring. Handspring is when you use your hands to flip over. I did too many, too late, and I have arthritis really bad in my wrist. So you got to, you know, you can't, you know, the last time I did it was at a benefit performance at Dos Pueblos High School in Santa Barbara, and I used to do backflips in my curtain calls because I learned that from a famous Swiss clown, Dimitri, who was a mentor of mine. He would do gymnastics during his curtain calls, and the audience would go crazy. I said, I got to do that. That's a really good thing to do. So I started doing that, and I did it all the time in the 80s because I was physically able. And then so I was doing this benefit like years later. We're talking almost 15, 20 years later, and I had stopped doing the flips way before. So I was in the curtain call, and I felt the energy, and I felt the crowd was really up, and I was up, and I said, I'm going to throw a flip, having not trained. And I went up, and I landed on my face. I crashed. And what was funny, though, the audience thought I did it on purpose because they all laughed at all this, and I'm going, oh, my God, I did that. And I haven't done one since because my time is over. You know, the athlete has to retire at some point. Yeah, let me see what else is on here.
By the way, Alina says the lunch is there.
Yeah.
And I could use a little.
Yeah, let's do it. There's 2 more on there. We can pick it up when we're done.
Okay. Yeah.
This is a famous piece called...
Actually, before I forget, well, when we come back, I'm going to bring up the brightness slightly on the screen.
Yeah. I can find other videos in here of the same pieces that are brighter, though. These are the earlier ones.
Okay, I think that's fine because I'll cut.
Yeah.
I can just cut to it.
But there's some other videos. There's one shot with an audience that's pretty good. It was shot by the
other videographers.
Right.
I also, B&H Photo and Video in New York, they're good. They're a good source for. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
Say something there.
Oh, I was living with Tonya, the modern dancer.
So let's see. I have good audio now. So what file are you going to open now?
I'm going to finish this one called 79-83 Performance and Mountain Spirit, it's called.
And the name on the flash drive again is?
Mime Video.
Mime Video, okay.
Yeah. I could probably give you this little flash drive. Because it has a lot of the earlier, it has all the earlier stuff. I see I have it on. Okay, so let's see what here. Why is it, oops, I clicked the wrong place. So this piece is called Acrobats, and this is one I still do. You may have seen this one. I don't know, maybe up in Santa Ynez. This is a circus of hands with a mouth. Do you remember that? Yeah. Circus of hands with sound effects. Does that ring a bell?
No.
Well, it's a classic that I created it's an interesting story. So,
Why don't you play it?
yeah, it has sound,
Okay.
but there's other videos of it that are better than this. This is just on this. But
Tell me about
it was a dream I had. I used to work for Ringling Brothers as a clown trainer, the mime teacher at Ringling Brothers Clown College in 1974 and 75. And one night I had a dream about the absurdity of the circus, the sounds and colors and characters. So I went into the studio around 1975, after my second year. I did it 2 years. And I made this piece, which was this, also influenced by Beckett, because Beckett has a piece where one of the actresses just has her mouth revealed and she does a monologue. So I'm sure that's with it. But I had this circus of hands. In other words, circus performers using just my hands and a prop, like maybe a string for a tightrope. And then I would make the sound effects, real sound effects with my mouth. And I wore, in the early days, I wore a mask with just my mouth showing. So it's just very surreal, like this. And there's sound effects. Whoops, I stopped it. Like that. And people love the sound effects. And I did this in Europe and in Mexico, and it was one of the hits of the shows I was doing. People just rolled. I mean, the laughter was belly laughing, and it made me feel good. But I'm going like, why are they laughing at this? But whatever I was doing, they just really laughed. So I'd put it usually at the end of the first third of my show, because when you make a show, a one-person show, you try to orchestrate it like a music set. Like you have, where does this softer romantic piece go? Where does the hard-hitting one go? You try to vary the rhythm. It's just like a music concert. So this piece, I figured, if I did it almost at the halfway point, if any energy has been lost, this one will regenerate the audience enthusiasm right before you hit the halfway point, and then that'll carry you a little further. So they had a strategic place in the show. So even, I did this last time I did it was 2 years ago at the LA Mime Festival that I founded and produced. And it still had its effect. People still laughed. And a show I would do recently, it would be like still about maybe a quarter way through or a third of the way through. And then the next piece, this is called Mountain Spirit. This is actually one of the best pieces I ever did. This is with my modern dance ex-wife.
Turn it this way a little more.
It's based on, there's a nice sound score. Why wouldn't it, oops. I don't know where the sound went, but where did it? Oh, that's why. But this is a fusion of modern dance and mime. So I would perform with.
Actually, turned off the sound now.
I will.
Because I can use it from the original if I want it.
Yeah.
It's a fusion.
Yeah, a fusion of dance and mime, and acting. And it was based on a sound score of your classic Andean flute music, you know, like that kind of thing. The indigenous kind of flute music, you hear that it's Andean, you know.
Yeah.
I think that's all that's on this video.
Okay.
But this piece also has a classic mask, which a lot of my masks are up in Oregon. I could bring them back and talk about them in the future if you wanted to.
Okay,
But this particular mask can change expressions. It's got this kind of nobility of a warrior, and then it can also be an old woman, and it can be a person sleeping or a person meditating, or a powerful warrior type person, just depending on how you use your body. That's how you work with masks. The slightest inclinations or presentation of energy or angles makes the mask change its expression if you do other things with your body.
Is it nice not having to think about any facial expressions when you have a mask?
Well, as a matter of fact, you're behind the mask. I personally am making facial expression, but at the same time, at other points, it's almost like operating in a submarine because you know they can't see you, so you're navigating. You know, you may have this is where that idea of you're juggling the environment. They're multitasking, in other words. So you can be in a particular place, but maybe your eyes are looking for the next move, or you're analyzing your body, but you know the outward appearance is projecting something else. So it's like literally like being in a submarine because you can't see through some of these masks very well. It's like being in a spaceship or like a submarine. I like to use the analogy submarine. You just have to, but you're free within it, but you have to navigate. You know, it's interesting. Okay, we're done with this one.
And you can put that one aside in a homework after.
Yeah, but we're done with that one video. There's some others on here that are let's see. This is PM Magazine, 1981. This is a feature on me. This has interesting text.
Let yourself come out in your work.
So I'm talking about my work, just like I am now.
Oh, it's very much so.
So here's another rendition of that mass piece.
You can be silly and get paid for it.
So I make comments like, you can get silly and get paid for it, you know. So this feature is about 20 minutes long, and it's really well done, actually. And I think the interviewee, who was this, what happened there?
What was the name of that file?
It's called PM Magazine, 1981. I'll write it down here.
Okay.
Most of the videos on this flash drive are pretty good for the early days. I think this is most of the early days. That video was, let me go back into it. I was going to say the interviewee, which was this cute blonde woman, was into me. And you can see on the video that where I'm kind of flirting with her, just to kind of, because I know what's going on, and she kind of melts. It's kind of funny. That's a good example of the body first technique, actually.
And we'll smash it down.
Let's see where she is.
Smooth it out. It's like making a pizza.
There's a couple of videos, other ones of this same demonstration, which is a good one, explaining stuff.
Imitate a performer or
Let's see.
saying, well, that's silly. If you feel a prop will make this idea come alive, use the prop. So consequently, sometimes you speak.
Not only is he performing
So there's nothing wrong with the video, with the audio here. It's just my computer.
Community Artist Residency Training, a program designed to bring
So let me show you this moment.
Hold on one second.
Anytime someone work in that
like
area,
coconut milk. You want to put that in
Oh,
your
that'd be nice. Thank you.
Let's see. Here's this one place. So here's the pecking exercise.
picking exercise.
Yeah.
And what you do is you try to focus on a point in space.
Bring
Just
down
a
the
dot
sound
in
a
space.
little.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
try to grab that. And you focus there. You don't look beyond.
Yeah.
That's good.
And you keep grabbing these little specks.
So let's see.
Good idea. That's where you lift an eyebrow.
Here, this is kind of funny.
You raise your eyebrows and you raise your mouth. And you try to drop your eyebrows, keeping the mouth and the smile.
So I did some of this for you earlier.
But if you do that quickly, like that, it's not so easy.
Wait, I'm going to find that one place. So this was at one period around this time. This is around 1981, 82. So I was living in New York City, and I got on the roster of what they called affiliate artists, which was really hard to get on. So this was a national organization that would create residencies and performances in rural, mostly rural, but sometimes urban communities all across the United States. And you were sponsored by a local business. It could be a big company like Sears, or an oil company, or it could be something much smaller, you know. But it was usually a local business in the economy, and they would pay for your residency. So this organization was like an agency. So they had a roster, and it was like a 3-tier process to get in it. It was really hard to get into. So the first thing you did was you had to do an audition. And I was really good with auditions because I would rely on my sports background, which is competitive. And I always enjoyed kind of measuring myself with others. I always kind of enjoyed it. And I was cultivated in the sports world. So I can be very competitive. So when I would go into auditions, I would approach it that way, like I'm playing a competitive game, and I would, maybe my game face was on or whatever, but I used to be able to intimidate the other people warming
I'll
up.
take it. Hold on. So you were saying you
I used to be able to intimidate the others warming up because of my demeanor as a competitive person that was cultivated through sports, right? So I would, like, let's say before an audition, we'd all be in the same room warming up, and so I'd go heavy duty into my regimen, which was unusual to begin with. And I could tell the others were all kind of looking at me, and I could see that they were intimidated. And so it was like trash talking through your body, basically, like the term trash talk in sports. So you had to go through that audition, and if you got accepted there, then you had to work with a mentor for about a month, which would be another artist on their roster that would give you advice and help you cultivate what they called an informant, which was like a lecture demonstration where you would talk about your art, but you'd also do pieces, and you do that for a week usually in a community. So I did this for 2 years, and I was in all parts of the United States. I performed in prisons and in boardrooms of oil companies and in grocery stores and so forth. So you do this I'm talking about the audition process. So the third step was actually doing an informant in a school, an elementary school in Manhattan. And they'd watch and see how it went. So I passed that. So I got on this roster. And so I was given these informances all around the United States. So, for example, I performed in Yosemite Park once in a lodge, and the show was for all the rangers that were there. Or I performed in a mental hospital in Mississippi, or I performed in a prison in Ohio, as among others. So one of the most interesting experiences I had was had a residency in Eastern Kentucky. And I had shows and performances in 2 different counties that had a feud. It's like Hatfields and McCoys, literally. The people did not go to the county over. So during the week, I'd do these shows, and one of them was in like 3 corners up in the mountains, so to speak, with no stoplights. And the only place you could perform was in a dry goods place that was kind of half gas station, half a hardware store, and a third dry goods. And my stage was in the garment section, so I would perform and improvise around coat racks and things like that. And the local people would come. And at the end of the week, you would usually do a formal performance in a theater. And when I did that in this location for the first time, people came from both counties to watch my show. So it was like a important event. And so through the arts brought people together. And I got some great letters of recommendation from that. But this video, this PM magazine, this is during one of these so-called informances. So this, like here I'm performing in a senior citizen home and doing things. Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. So, so there's some demonstration like I'm doing here. But I want to show you that one. Oh, this is it. So here I'm talking about, like in the past, it's kind of ethereal or magical what would happen, because in my prime years, I could hold a line, like I'm doing it here. I could hold a line and I could move it and I could see a white aura between my hands. And I can vaguely see it now. So I always thought that scientists should study this, because there's something I'm doing with my mental energy. It's going through my body and it's generating a force. And I'm known as a really good illusion mimist. You know, I can make things look like they're real, or I have been able to do that. And I'm not so good now with it, because we do get older. But, so I can just barely see a little, now it's kind of black, but I could see this white line. So in this video I'm explaining. So I used to do that for my classes, like at UCSB back in the 80s, and I'd say, okay, I'm gonna do, can you see anything? And people would tell me they could see it. So I don't know what that is, but I always thought that scientists should study good mimes, because there's some kind of transformation of energy where things materialize through focus and placement and all sorts of things.
And that happens to other mimes too?
I've never heard anybody talk like that. No, I don't know.
So it happens to you.
That's my story.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
interesting.
Yeah. So, okay, here, this is,
Is that the reporter?
Watching
Yeah.
James, mine looks easy, but climbing an invisible fence,
just the way she's looking at me.
invisible apple from an invisible tree, well, you have to have quite an imagination.
On stage now. Grab it, back, come slow. See the apple? Then, very slowly. Now pull, pick, clap, good. Wait. Oh, it's next.
There's just a little energy going on there. That's kind of funny, but
If you go to a high school group or a college group,
no, this is good.
what kind of drug are you on? And I say, no drug, it's just my mind, you know. And
I couldn't understand.
So I'm saying,
let yourself come.
when I was young, when I'd go to high schools or elementary schools to do performances, and they'd always ask me, are you on drugs now? Because the work I was doing was surreal and kind of magical. And they'd say, are you on drugs? And I'd go, no, just my mind. That's what that was. So, and that happened a lot. People would always say, are you high? Because sometimes my eyes would get red especially during the white face, so the makeup would get a little bit in there and they'd get irritated. So sometimes people thought back in the 60s or early 70s I was on grass, you know. But I never was. And so that's just the comment, you know, no, I'm just my mind, you know, so. Anyway, so there's that video.
Okay, great.
This is a new thing, this welcome to tea. Okay, now this next one I'll show you
What's it called?
is Fresno Demo 1981. So this is just me doing demonstrations of technique that was on PBS. So they also interviewed me, but they also showed this is in Fresno, some of the local PBS stations. Some of the shots were just me doing moves, or maybe there was a voiceover. So, so this is called Fresno Demo. And this is probably the best pure demonstration of my approach, my technical approach. So it's almost like a academic study. So there's, you know, undulations, for example, okay? So I go through a whole series of moves. Next thing, just more isolations, right? And now I'm going to do a back handspring just to show that part off, okay? Now I'm going to do, I don't know what's happening here yet, but he sees something. There's the point in space. So he's going to pull a chunk. I used to do demonstrations in schools like this. I'd pull something out of the air like that, and I'd test its weight. In fact, in a recent show I've done in Latin America, a solo, I've done this piece as an older mime. But I do this to show people the vocabulary of how I'm going to tell the story later on in the show. So
You have on a black leotard?
it's just a unitard, yeah.
And
That's all. That's the
all?
way I would perform. Barefoot, which is a lot like modern dancers of the time. They perform barefoot.
And the black leotard helps you.
Well, it's a neutral. It's neutral. So there's no distractions. It's just you and your body and your imagination. And in the old days, my body was slim and in shape, right? So, that helped also. I wouldn't wear that now. I'd wear something, I wear something now that's full and, baggy like sweatpants and stuff. But, so these are just moves. And
Good stuff.
let's see what this is. Oh, this is the mime walk. This is also different than most mime. This is my technique, which is more fluid, and this is running in slow motion. Just one this is the wall. Here's a good example of the wall. I mean, it looks like I'm really touching something, right? But I'm just doing it in the air. And this is interesting because a lot of times I do it with my back to the audience. So, as opposed to this, because when your back's to the audience, they like, who knows? Maybe there is something there because you're looking at it. Let's see what else we got here. I think I do this is some like hanging on a rope. Here's some mass demonstrations. So all the body movement has a sense of placement. It's very cartoon-like in terms of cells, like you find a position. It's just like a cartoon, like the way you would do animation. A lot of the old style animation are different drawings, one after another, right? Or images run after another. So as a mime, you work with that, the same thing.
But you mean you think of it as a series of...
Yeah, it's a series of placements, and you can hurry up the change or slow it down. Like there was like this move here, turning the head. The body's in a position and just the head moves. So that's very much like animation. One place stays, like South Park is a real primitive style, right? It's the guy's just here and they go, it's most of the image is static and only certain parts move. So that's very mimetic. That's the way a mime works. Same thing. This mask was very popular with audiences, which I think is here in the house somewhere. It's very simple. It's just a big smile.
You might have shown it to us.
I did. I remember that. I saw a photo of that. Yeah. So anyway, that video. I see. This is James. Now somebody said, okay, we're done. James. Okay. And then let's go to, this one's called Desert Cafe. This is 1993. This is a kind of a fusion of dance and movement too. This was done at UCSB and other places, but I was commissioned to teach this to other people. Let's see, why is it not playing here? Oh, there it comes. This one gets very wild. It's about It's about it's a study of the surrealistic landscape of the Mojave Desert, or the desert, with a lot in a cafe that there's some wild stuff that happened.
So tall.
So this is a little more innovative. I even punch. Let's see where the punching is. Oh, there. Whoop. Let's see. I remember in this one I had a plastic plate and I'd punch it and it breaks. You cut your hand. It's like it can be. It's very violent.
What's the theme, would you say?
There, I broke it. Actually, it's a theater.
Can you bring down
The theme is,
Yeah.
it's a study of the high desert, like the Mojave, not Death Valley, but the more windswept, like where Burning Man appears, you know. And what if there was a road stop with gas station and a cafe, who would inhabit that cafe? What kind of character would live there? So it's basically just a study of that. What's the brain like of the person who lives and works in that area? I think I end by being pancakes sizzling in a pan. I think this is from theater. Let's see. This was done, there's a lot of manipulation in it, but this one was done, yeah, this is in LA at Theater. Do you remember a theater called Theater right on Tahunga, right off the freeway? It was a very well-known, kind of small, right? It was like one block up from Hollywood Boulevard. But I have two videos, but that's that one. Anyway, that's more contemporary. All right, I think there's one more video here this is Truck Dog.
It's what?
This is the one about the dog who's the
And its name was something dog?
Truck Dog.
Truck dog.
Right, there's the program. So this one was a piece I did. It's a piece excuse me. There's several videos of this. This is a piece I did for several years. Wait a minute. What is that? Oh, this is Truck Dog in other words. So, let's go back to the beginning here. See how long the hair is there? Let's see. So this was done. Here, let me see when this was done. Truck Dog in other words, right. So this was probably 1986 or 7, or maybe 1990 at UC Santa Barbara in the Studio Theater. So some of the, I'll just write this down. Some of the, this was the, kind of a contemporary, some of that old video from 1975, so this would have been 15 or 20 years later. I'm still doing some of the same pieces, and you can see how they've evolved and what I look different. But Truck Dog, in other words, Truck Dog was a full-length piece. In this show, it's only 30 minutes. There's a monologue that was in its early development. It became a full-length show. And the Truck Dog is this dog who can't get out of the back of the pickup. He can't get in the cab. His master tells him he has to stay. And he's a storyteller and an adventurer. And he just explains his life. And there's some other really good videos of it, good sections. So this is in the early part of that, but also this show has some of my classic pieces that are more mature. And that's that let's see what, let's see here.
Yeah, let's see some.
So this is, so this piece,
This is part of Truck Dog, right?
no, this is truck, this is other works.
Okay.
But here, let's look at this for a second, because this is important. So my work is very often very concerned with rhythms. So I think I mentioned earlier that one of the most complimentary critiques I ever got was that James Donlon knows flatness. So that's able to take really basic actions and textures and make them meaningful for whatever reason. So this is the piece where they wrote that about. And so this little example here is showing rhythm and time and space. So to me, musicality, I call it musicality, not playing an instrument or singing or a musical score, but the action of dialogue between time, in space is really important to me. So this is an example of the rhythmic interaction through movement and audio textures. So during a performance, you want to always be aware of the music that's happening in the performance, not the recorded music, not me playing the ukulele, but just how life unfolds. What are the rhythms and music of life itself? You know, like if we're standing by a highway and the traffic's going by, like let's say a country road, it goes whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Whoosh, whoosh. So that's music. So that's a real simple example of how you must be in tune with that. And if you do that, if there is that dialogue between, it's actually a dialogue between you and the sense of being. If that dialogue is absent, audiences get bored. Life becomes monotone. So as a performer, you have to always be aware of the rhythms of existence. So it's the same with filmmaking, right? You have to be aware of how time unfolds to keep when the edit happens, for audiences to stay engaged. Or the musician has to know what the lineup of pieces are, or how the set goes to keep the audience engaged. You can't have the same monotone all the time. So that was a really important part of my teachings too. So for for example, in San Francisco in my studio, I'd have the kids go and stand by the second story big window and just look at the street and try to pick up all the music of the street. You know, who passes by on the sidewalk, what cars are going by, and how do you find the pattern of being? And that creates the music, which keeps the audience engaged. Because that's not there, they're not going to be engaged. They'll go look for their own music somewhere else.
Is the music just audio or not just audio?
It's visual and audio. And if it's just visual, you have to include, like for example, some of these early videos, you can hear like footsteps, breathing is all part of the music. So you tried to, like in that Scribbles piece, it's really obvious. You try to create the sense of music through your mouth and through the way you're taking the floor and your breath, as well as the visual happening at the same time. So the whole thing is musical. So I devised a lot of exercises with students on how to develop that sense. And it's like riding a bicycle. What I mean by that is when you're learning how to ride a bicycle, if you remember, there's all kinds of intricate moves you have to do. You have to turn the wheels a little bit. You can't look at the ground. You have to look up. Some people say keep your spine straight off the seat, almost like become part of the bicycle. But there's all kinds of, if you turn, all you have to do is lean a little bit and you'll turn. So eventually that becomes habit and instinct. You don't think about each little thing that you're doing. And so that's a we'll call it just really simply, that's a feeling. That's something that you feel is happening. So as a mime or as a budding actor, you try to develop an archive of feelings. Like if I feel this, I know I'm doing that, even though I don't have to dissect every single moment, right? It's a combination of a lot of factors. So this idea of music has to become a feeling, you know, so I guess you could say you're just being musical, not necessarily with, you know, playing the violin or something. It's just a sense of being. Like right now, I heard an airplane go over, so, and I noticed I was watching the trees do this. So I'm just kind of trained to be aware of that, or maybe I'm just doing it naturally. So I'm going, oh, this place we're in right now is the trees are moving, the plane went over, and you're sitting like this, doing this, right? So all that's in my head, just because that's the process. And if you do that, that's the music of this place we're in right now, right? So this little section here with this trunk, boom, ba. So what happened there was, boom, ba, boom, ba, boom, 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 boom. That's what happened. Even the audience is part of it. But that's the musical score of that moment. So movement, 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 movement. Step, 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 step. So you're trying to understand those dynamics. And if you do that, your performance has a punch. It's present, it's there. You know, it's really there. That's why a lot of times I'll ask students to listen to animals, like, or watch a squirrel, like what their rhythms are, right? And then you can't have movement without stillness or silence. You can't have sound without silence, and you can't have movement without stillness, and vice versa. For something to be still, you need to have a sense of movement, and vice versa. So that's the world of musicality that I'm talking about. So this piece, that little, we'll call it a phrase, a dramatic phrase, is a good example. And that's probably what they were writing about in Switzerland, like in the 70s, that moment. Yeah, I had another thought come in just a minute ago, but I forgot what it was. It's something important, actually. Can't remember what it was. Musicality. Anyway. Papa. So he goes, papa. And then the hand moves. Papa. Then there's space. Pop. 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 Bum. That's another really good phrase. So it happens visually too. Then there's be another phrase right here. Open, close. Stillness. Open, look up, close. Oh, there's a relationship. Mouth, boom. Boom, ba, 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 wow. Even that gesture along there was important to the phrase. Then it goes again. Da 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 da. Stillness. And they laugh. Ba-bum, ching, bum. Very percussive. It's a lot like animation. I mean, animators do this kind of thing.
Do you play the drums too?
No. Let's see what else happened. Boom, fire, boom. So, in sports they say being in the zone, when things just happen, like if you're a basketball player, you're making every shot. So I'm in the zone now, and the zone is that the whole environment, the audience too, creates this trance. So the musical feeling is with me, and the audience is part of that too. So you're in the zone, which means you don't think about what you're going to do next. You just have the feeling of going there. So the whole performance is relatively created like that.
Are you in white phase with?
No, it's just it's an old video, just natural.
Did you have a nose on? Or?
There I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to watch it to see what's going on. The nose has appeared, and he's trying to get it off. And he tries, I like this move. And then the Beckett influence is going to happen here. He's got to get out of here. Okay, I'm going to escape. He leaves, and then the outside force, which is a big Beckett theme, throws me back on stage. So even there it was ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, woo, boom. So another way you can talk about this is a dance of life. Okay? Life is a dance. Boom. So ta-ta-ta-ta, wah, wah, gee, gee, boo, get out, boom. Boom. Now he's going to go this way, and then something else is going to happen, you'll see. Oh, he finds this first. That's the hat. So all this piece was the transformation of the mind to the clown. And this one piece is about 20 minutes, 15. It ends up on the ladder.
Did you say he transforms from a mind to a clown?
What's that?
He transforms from a mind to a clown?
Yeah, you're doing pure movement and gesture, and then the accessories of the clown appear through a process. That's what that piece is. It's called wood and iron, meaning because there's real wood and the iron is the ladder that's going to come in. So let me see where that is in a minute. Anyway, I would say this video is really representative of my classic stuff in the most evolved state. So let's go on to something else. Ready? Yeah. He ends up on top of it. Oh, this is Desert Cafe from a different angle, which is a good one. Let's see. Trying to find. I don't know. You have to watch it on your own, but
Okay.
this is a more. So see the musicality right there.
Yeah.
So he went da da da, cha-ching, kick. You know, like. So all the great performers had that sense of musicality, or they do. You know, like they have that connection of time and space in a score that's free. Okay. Let's see what else we have. So let's see. I think that's all the videos on this one. Yep. Right. So that Desert Cafe. This is there's a camera guy on stage with me. This is in L.A. and this piece.
What's this called?
This one's called Desert Cafe. So the one we were just looking at with the plates and the beater shirt and the hitting things. It's called Desert Cafe. So it's in this video too. And it was about the same year. So this is 93. So this is around 93 also. But I was going to go to Ireland to tour, and that's why. And this was taken. But anyway, that's that. So that's called Mime Video.
Okay.
I don't know why. How did we get rid of this before? The yellow one? Yeah. This is a new app or a new thing that I didn't know I had.
Operating system.
Something happened there. Okay, let's get rid of this. Let's see what else is here. Let's look up Payaso. That means just see what's on it.
So the ones you've used so far are that one and the hard drive. Why don't you put those?
No, I also used Hawk. That was another.
Can you put those separate?
Yeah, let me find the. There was one called Hawk. Oh, here it is. Yeah, they're over here.
Okay, good.
Those are the. I'm making a list of them.
Gotcha.
The Hawk one is probably we should do later. 'Cause it's out of chronology. Let me see here. Let me see what's on this one. The one that's on here is the stuff that Jeff gave you, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm going to put this over here too. I don't think we need to look at that. What's this one? Mime songs. Oh, that's
You know,
contemporary.
While you're looking at yours, I'm going to copy to mine.
I want to find the NCSA.
Just remember the file name.
Yeah, I want to find, there's a good video of me doing a demonstration at North Carolina School of the Arts. Let's see. Oxnard performance, Sigfrido, studio photos, website, Angus bio, Oxnard performance. Oh, those are photos. Okay, there's no video on that. What's this? Payaso.
I'm going to copy mine video.
Yeah, that would be good to copy that one. Okay, this one doesn't have any video on it. Oop. I'm trying to find. Find songs. What's on this one? Might be in the other one. Oh, it's not coming up. Oh, travel drive. Right there. What the hell is that? James performance. James backstage. Here's some video of me and Robert Shield. Let's see. Here's a video of me preparing, which is kind of interesting. It's a good shot of the full. Check this one out. Yeah.
I'm going to use your bathroom.
Yeah, you can go in here. I think this is interesting. Yeah, yeah. There's one I'm trying to find, though, that's important. I don't know where it is right now. Hot gonna look at that one again.
For some reason, I can't get it to,
What's that?
I can't get it to copy right now, so I'm gonna wait on that. Okay.
Let's see. Where was I? Oh, yeah, here we go.
Okay, and what?
This video is there was a Festival of Fools, and it's called Festival of Fools Warm Up, which is a example. Is that what I just did? That's not the video we just had. Nope. What happened to that's the wrong one. What did I just do? Oh, it's this one.
the name
Festival
of
of
it is-
Fools 1. I think it's this one.
And what's the thumb drive name?
This one's called, it's called Travel. So it's this orange one.
Okay.
So this video is me doing preliminary warm-up of the ladder piece.
Oh, wow.
And it's interesting because you can see how tall it is.
Turn it a little bit this way.
You can see how tall it is. There's a band back there. So this isn't actually a performance, but it's close because I'm kind of marking it for the technicians. Here comes the band coming out. They're going to use sound effects. But I would get on top of this. This is where I was saying I was afraid of heights. And you can, it evolves a little bit. It goes, I turn around. So I had to learn how to do that without falling. I never fell. One time in Mexico, it walked. The ladder started walking because it was unstable, the ground was. And I had to navigate that. So I had to relate to the, and then the audience, this is in a proscenium stage, so the audience is even lower. So you really felt you were up there. So I'm going to go ahead a little bit, and you can see. So you asked me a little while ago, how do I get down? This is how he gets down. So I find a newspaper in my pocket. I start stuffing my coat. So now not only am I high up, but I can't see either because I'm going to put that over. One of these I'm going to put over my head.
Is it all going to be
Well, actually come down. At one point I'd play a harmonica in my mouth and create a sound score, but it's not in this video. So this is like I would say, I'm talking to them, telling him what I'm going to do, you know. But it's kind of an informal. That's part of how I get down. And each time, the thing keeps getting smaller and smaller. And then it. Anyway, so that's pretty obvious what's happening.
Cool.
I didn't even know I had this one. That's kind of there might be some other stuff in here, but let's see. What is this? There's some stuff I'm sending you now. All right, let me get rid of this one.
This is just we're calling it the orange.
It's called Travel Drive.
Okay, on the outside of it, but it's the orange.
It's the orange. It's the only drive. And you know, and also there's some video in here with Robert Shields.
Ooh, yeah.
But I don't want you to ever use that without his permission because he's really strict about. So I happen to have this, but we don't want to use it unless he gives us permission. But he's the one you can interview. I talked to him 2 days ago. He checked in. We check in periodically, and he said, "I said, would you be open to being interviewed?" And he said, "Yeah, for sure." He's kind of a manic guy. He's hard to get a hold of. He lives in Sedona, near Sedona. But he'll go off. He'll talk a lot, you know.
Can you show me a little in case he gives permission to use it?
Yeah, it's just backstage stuff. It's us teaching together, actually. Well, here's backstage.
Is it called Robert Shields?
Yeah, probably Jeff has some of this footage. It says James and Robert backstage. So we give. Let's see. That's him right there. It's just in. We're just warming up and doing. Okay. He and I were going to do a show together. But that's one video. But there's another one. There's actually one on YouTube that's public. That's him and I critiquing some high school students.
Oh, that's funny.
But it's on YouTube. Let's see. There's another James backstage. What is this one?
I'll need to wrap it up.
I know. I don't look at these. I'm trying to find this one video though that you should. That's important. I think it might be on this one. All right. I'm gonna reject this. I'm gonna look at. I think it's. Yeah, it's 306. Let me try to at least find out what this one is. How do you close this? Oh, it's one of these. Let me see what's in this one. James. Then I have to. Might be in that one. Hawk. Where'd Hawk go? Oh, there we go. James. Yeah? I'll get it. Oh, here's some really new stuff. right here. Here's fish like a year ago.
Okay, what are you playing now? What's the name?
This
of
is
the file?
fish. Yeah, I'm just trying to find. I'm trying to find this one. I mean, just so I know this is here. But this is fish. You know, the one with my classic. This is me just a year ago or two. But let me stop that. I just know I have that. Let me get rid of this. You had to leave at 3:15, right? Yeah. Yeah. Let me. Let me go back. I need to look at that one again when you're done with it. No, let me look at Hawk here, just a second.
That was pretty cool, the book that
The-
your associate made of the.
The drawing. Do you have a copy of that?
Yeah, you gave me.
Yeah,
that.
okay.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah. Some of the stuff I talked about today is in there from a different perspective. Let me see what's in this one. I think this is mostly the circus stuff. I think these might be empty, actually. Yeah, these are performing with, these are more contemporary. They're pretty crazy. They're with Alina. But we'll look at those at a different time. But there's this one I need to.
Okay.
This is
This is on which thumb drive?
this is the one you I think you copied.
Mime video.
Yeah, most of it. We looked at everything on this one today. This is NCSA promo. This is
This file is NCSA.
no, it's a mime video, and it's called NCSA promo. I'm right. 1982. So this is a lecture demo for a real audience of acting students, but it's got a lot of.
Turn it this way here.
Here's that demonstration. Let's see how it starts. I think this was edited together. It's pretty well done. Let's see what happens here. So next time you come, we'll look. This is a full-length clown play. We'll look at it next time. That little shot, but. So this video has a lot of the classics, but it's edited and it's before a live audience. This is acrobats, but. This is script, like some of this footage, and this is from that other video of the studio performance. We already saw that. But let me see what else is there. This is Commodore. He's the arrogant admiral, based on a weakness. I think I actually edited this thing together, but this piece I'm going to show you next time. It's called All Our Clowns.
All Art Clowns.
Yeah, which is a Beckett. It's like a Beckett play, but it's
Do you
my
want to
play.
Take 4 or 5 minutes and tell me about this one.
Yeah, it's in. I know where it is. I passed. I know where it is. Okay, this is a good overview of this thing. Did you copy this one or not?
No, I'm still copying the black card.
Yeah, because this is the one that had the meat of what we looked at today.
What was that? This one does?
Most of what we looked at was on this one.
Okay.
But that's okay. We can copy it another time or something. Let me close this. Here, I wanted to find. It's in Hawk, I think. No, it's not in Hawk. It's in All Our Clown. I think it's on that actually.
Well, maybe we should
Yeah.
wrap for now.